Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel. Tonight we are going to do something a little different. Actually, this is the second time I did this, but I had things go haywire with. Didn't realize my Wi-Fi was unplugged, and so I wound up recording the whole thing offline. And as soon as I tried to, anyway, uh, what we're going to do tonight's going to be a lesson on Israel, whether Israel is the Holy Land or not. And I'm going to give you biblical proof showing you that the little country of Israel that's got a population of like 12 million people is not the Holy Land as many people think it is. And I'm going to be showing, we're going to be talking about the King James Bible not being a history book. This is something that we showed in the 8th book that we wrote. Okay. I am the firstborn. I am the first to rise from the dead. That's the name of the 8th book. But before we get into the lesson, we're going to do a little experiment so you can decide whether or not you're on the right channel. Now, it's been a couple weeks now that the Father brought something to my attention as I was driving, listening to the Bible, as I always do, and when I got to thinking about it, and I was like, before I do my next video, I'm going to try to put it to you all in a way that the Father put it to me. So you can decide whether or not you're on the right channel, whether or not you should stay on my channel, because the way the Father explained it to me, well, let me just put it this way, all right? I've got 53 subscribers. I created this channel, I want to say in May, maybe June of 2011, 14 years ago, over 14 years ago. I guess getting close to 14 and a half years ago. Okay? I've got 53 subscribers to my channel. Now, over the years, when I first created the channel, I used to have a bunch of videos on here that, debunked the rapture and all that stuff, and because that was how the Father called me to the Bible in 2011. I was listening to Coast AEM. They was talking about a rapture. I'd never heard about it before. So I looked into it. I looked at where everybody was saying they was going to be raptured, and I could obviously see there was no such thing as a rapture. There's a video on here called "The False Teaching of the Rapture" or something like that. If you want to learn about how the Bible actually teaches against the rapture, people teaching the rapture and everything, I advise you to watch that video, because we're not going to get into that tonight. But what he was talking to me that night, he was telling me that because let me back up a little bit. I let myself believe I'm in the flesh. I'm not perfect yet. Okay. Nobody in the flesh will ever be perfect. All right. So, but I let myself believe, and I let other people talk to me and tell me that I needed to change my channel, change the way I do things, make my videos shorter, do whatever I can to get more subscribers, get more views on my channel. Yes, I've got some that's got lots of views, but they're only 1 or 2 second views. Just because you see it, a couple years ago I paid a lot of money to have things promoted, trying to get people to watch my channel and whatnot, and I paid thousands of dollars, and I would get enormous amounts of views. We'll look at that here in a minute. But they'd only look at the thing for like 2 or 3 seconds. And if you're a YouTube, you obviously you watch YouTube, but when it comes to the commercials, which you shouldn't find any commercials in mine, because I don't do this for the money. All right, but when you get on the other channels and they got the commercials, when those promotions, that's what they does. It forces a commercial. You only have to watch 3 seconds of it or whatever, then you can click off, skip the commercial. That's what people do on that. I've got some that's got 5,000. I think there's one that's got 37,000. We'll look at it in a minute. but they never had it. I got the YouTube Studio, as you can see here, and it tells me the time duration. Okay, right here, I got 47 views in the last 28 days, 1.2 hours. All right, over half the videos. Well, I don't know. I made some short videos here a while back, so that's where a lot of those views come from. But I got 30 minutes, and then we got an hour long video. You know, only having an hour two out of 47 views, only having 1 hour, 1.2 hours, people aren't watching the videos. So I let myself believe I needed to do things differently, find something, a different way to do things to get people to watch the videos. And the father, as I'm driving the other night, he's like, David, why do you want, or why does it seem that you're seeking for validation for other people? Because as you all know, my videos are scarce here and there. I don't do them that often, and I do have a hard time getting motivated to do videos because nobody watches the video. But the way the father put it to me the other night, he was like, it's almost like you're seeking validation from them for you to be able to make these videos. And for me, then he's like, why do you want them to validate you? Well, it's kind of like this automatically took my mind. We should seek the appraisal of God, not the appraisal of man. It kind of made me feel like he was saying, you're seeking their appraisal. All right. Well, I was like, okay, that's wrong. I can't do that. I'm seeking your appraisal, Father. Well, then he starts to ask me to start thinking about Matthew 7. Now, this is where I say about 6 months ago, I got to check my timer because my clothes are in the laundry. But about 6 months ago, I was going to make a short video. I took some pictures of yeah, it's about time for me to go in. I'll be back. But anyway, I took some pictures of a big wide gate. I took some pictures of a small gate. I was going to make a video, about the path to destruction is wide and broad. The path to eternal life is narrow and straight. And I'm paraphrasing. We're going to show this here in a few minutes. But I think back then is when he was trying to do it because he was trying to tell me this because he was putting that verse on my mind. But I kept thinking, okay, this is what I need to make a shorter video about. But now 2 weeks ago when he started talking to me like this, it was like, wait a second. You're not telling me to make a short, fancier video to get more people to watch it. You're telling me to look at Matthew 7 and listen to what it says. So that's what we're going to do. Matthew 7, verses 13 and 14. All right, I'll be back. Matthew 7, 13 and 14. Enter ye into the strait gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Because strait is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Now, let's go back here to another spot on my YouTube Studio, and I want to show you now. Okay, here's a view. Last video, I guess, I made was July 27th. Huh? No. I'm sorry. I was I was down at the oh gosh, David. All right. August 5th. Okay, that was freaking me out a little bit. I forgot I was scrolling through these earlier when I was making the video earlier that dubbed away because I wasn't on the internet. Anyway, that's kind of funny. Uh, are you a born again Christian? 32 minutes long, published August 5th. Only 5 views. I know one personally. I made the video for this person particularly so she could give me some constructive criticism on it, give me some tips and so forth on what I should do. And then it was after that when the father started talking to me about what he's talking to me. It was just shortly after that. All right. Here is the first and second parts of the TV interview that I did. Uh, 24 views on one part, 15 views on the other part. Each of those are only 27 minutes long. Nobody watches them here. The False Teaching of the Rapture, published on June 27th, 33 views. Clean or Unclean, published on December 2nd of 2024, 14 views. Israel attacks Iran, calm down, April 19th, 2024, 7 views. The powers of heaven shall be shaken. This was a video on the 7th book that we wrote, an hour and 48 minutes, 41 views. Now I could go by and find out the duration of I go back and do all the research and find out the duration of how long people actually watch that video. But through all the stuff I always keep an eye on, I know people didn't watch all that much of it. There was a few that watched the full duration of it, but they didn't watch a lot of them didn't watch the whole video. Okay, now let's scroll down. I was going to talk about the ones I've got some lot of views on. These are the ones I was doing promotions. They're short videos that was trying to get people to my website, get people to come to get the books. So be it. I would pay thousands of dollars for this. Here I've got 29,977 views. I know from my experience, I don't pay for a subscription to YouTube, so whatever that's called, but I have to watch the commercials. I don't watch the commercials. I watch 3 seconds and I skip the commercial. I don't pay attention. That's what those are right there. People don't watch them. And understandably, because like when I'm tuning in to watch something, I'm not there for the commercials. Like when you watch on television, you're out there to watch for commercials. Commercials come on, that's when you go take a break. Well, that's kind of what I was doing that night. I got a truck backing up next to me. I was just wanting to see if it was a fellow driver from the same company. It's not. Uh, anyway, but I got all these views, but I never did get that many. The duration of the hours they watch never accumulated to much. So yes, it gets a little discouraging for me. And I'm not going to say that it's not going to continue to be discouraging for me. It probably is, but it's a battle I've got to fight within myself, because when the Father was asking me about me seeking your all's validation, you know, he did ask me something else that I didn't mention. He said, I've already validated you. What more validation do you need? And he's right. I don't need your all's validation. It's not on me to convince you all to believe what I'm teaching. Okay? Now, we're going back to Matthew 7. We already showed I've got 53 subscribers. I've only got a few subscribers. When I first created the channel, I had a few more subscribers, but I deleted a lot of those channels, a lot of those videos, because I go through my temper tantrums. I explain this in the book, and years ago, I think it was probably the first year, second, maybe 2016 or 2017, I wound up deleting a lot of them. And it was one of those times I wanted to quit. I'll never quit. I may complain and throw a little temper tantrum saying I'm going to quit, but I never will quit. I deleted a lot of them, and when I think back of it, I'm kind of glad I did, because back then I dressed a little bit different. My hair was a lot shorter, and had a clean face. I didn't look anything like what I look now. So, in a way, I'm kind of glad I deleted those. Yeah, I'd have more videos on my channel, but which still were leading. But these were the first years when the Father first called me to the Bible. A lot of it was still new. Those were made before I even wrote the first book. The first book didn't come until 2015. So the first 4 years before that, I had some videos here and there, but they didn't go near into the details as I go into it since the Father been teaching me one-on-one after I laid down my life in 2016. 2015, Father, forgive us, we haven't been listening. That's the book I wrote in 2015. That's the milk as we are to desire as newborn babes. That book leads into what every other one of those other books, or all the 7 following books, are going to be teaching. But if you don't understand what's in the first book, you're not going to understand what's in the third book. And obviously, the eighth book's not going to make any sense to you either. Because if you're not going to be willing to adhere and agree with what's in the first book, you're not going to agree with anything that's written after the first book, because everything stems off of what we put in the first book. Father, forgive us. We haven't been listening. That's what all of this is. That's what's going on with the whole world. Nobody listens to him. Some people will obey his laws, but they won't listen to him for his perfection, his righteousness, his justification. Okay, I don't want to get into all of that. So what I want to do now is I want to go to show you my website here. Okay, got my davidofpsalm89.com. All right, and they haven't got the eighth book down here on the bottom where you can download the manuscripts down here. They're supposed to be getting that put on here soon, but they do have it here. If you go over to books, you can go down here to I Am the Firstborn, I Am the First to Raise from the Dead. See if it clicks in here, right here. Clicks on, let it load up. There's you download your manuscript. It's right there. This is the same for all the books. You can do the same for all the books. We're just going to take that back right now. Now, the reason we just went through all this rant and rave, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, is because I want you to decide if you want to stay on this channel, because there's only a few that are going to stay on this channel. Most will not. Most are going to want to stay on that wide and broad path that leads to destruction. Only a few out of the 53 subscribers I've got, I will say with all certainty, only a few of those people that subscribe to my channel will be in the few that find that straight and narrow path. A lot of people will come to my channel. They might even subscribe to it. They'll go through a video or two, maybe. If they get through the whole video, they're going to unsubscribe. They're not going to stay. That happened to me a couple weeks ago. I had someone say subscribe to my channel. They was only on there a few days. They unsubscribed. I had 54 subscribers and went right back down to 53 in a couple days. Okay, many people aren't going to stay here. They'd rather stay on that wide and broad path, or in that gate way to go back. Just put the verses back up. Okay. Enter ye in the straight gate, for wide is the gate, and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction, and many there be which go in thereat. Many want to stay in that way. Many want to go through that wide and broad gate, because that's easier. It's just so easier to go with what everybody else goes with, instead of going with the one person that actually shows you the truth, even though it does not tickle your ears, even though it's going to hurt. Because that's the only way we're going to get on that straight and narrow path. I don't teach you all anything that the Father didn't teach me hands-on, one-on-one hardcore training. I had to go through all these lessons. He didn't just say, look at the book, now you understand what this means. I physically, spiritually, and emotionally had to go through all of these lessons through these books in order to be able to bring you all an understanding. Yes, my understanding wasn't as clear like when I wrote the second book, when I was talking about reincarnation. My understanding of reincarnation wasn't near as clear as it was when I wrote the fourth book and beyond. But I continued to seek the Father and him through the King James Bible, and he continued to teach me. I didn't go seek him elsewhere. We talk about that in the seventh book. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Okay? But like I said, you can go to the website. You can download all the books for free. Now, I had a friend looking at it the other day, and she went on there and she downloaded I Am the Firstborn, I Am the First to Rise from the Dead. She downloaded that one. I thought she had to convert it to Word on her laptop. No, she did not have to convert it to Word on her laptop. It was in a PDF file, and she was able to get it to read it to her through the PDF file. All she had to do was look for the A up on the top left side with the little marks on the right top corner of it. There's your read out loud. It'll read it. You get free audiobooks. That's in all of the books. Same thing. You got a free manuscript and a free audiobook. I do not do this for the money. Nobody should feel obligated to pay, and if you can't afford to pay for it, you don't have to. Yeah, it might cost you some data to listen to it. It might cost you some space on your computer or your phone to download it. But you get the books for free. I can't do everything. All right, I'm not going to change the way I do videos. As you can tell, we're not even gotten into the lesson. We've already went 20 minutes long. I'm not going to make my videos short. I'm going to explain what I'm teaching. Yes, tonight, when we get into the lesson, I'm going to skip through things because we're going to talk about a variety of different things as we go through it, but I'm going to bring out the main points to show you that Israel is not the Holy Land as people think it is. That little bitty country with a population of 12 million people. Hopefully I don't get all the chuckles like I did on the video I started earlier, but you're going to learn that. Anyway, that's what we need to do. We need to get into the lesson. First thing I want to do, and that's another thing I wanted to say. Someone brought it to my attention that I shouldn't repeat things I repeat. I shouldn't repeat things in the beginning of my videos. Now, I just showed you how many viewers I've got, how many subscribers, how many views I get. I don't get that many views. If you stumbled onto my channel, most likely you aren't subscribed. You haven't seen any of my previous videos, and there are some key points that I will bring up in the beginning of just about every video I do. This one we're looking at here, John 4, verses 23 and 24. I can just about guarantee you I'm going to show you this in the beginning of every lesson that I ever teach because we are at that hour. Now, let me read John 4, verses 23 and 24. Okay, I do that so you can see where I'm at. Verse 23, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. God is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth. Everything about the King James Bible is spiritual. It's not physical, it's not carnal. Like when I walked out into the wilderness in 2016 to lay down my life. That was a spiritual death. David spiritually died. I left the ways of this world that everybody lives in, and now I'm no longer of this world. I'm with the Father 100% of the time. I'm sitting on the right side of the Father. That's why everything explained in previous books and in the books and in previous videos, that's me sitting on the right side of God because everything about me is blue and white, just as white's blue when you woke up into the sky and during the day. Blue and white. I'm sitting on God in the heavenly places. The scriptures, Philippians 3:20, our conversations are in heaven. When you're reading or listening to the Bible, you are actually into a level of heaven. Now, we started showing this in the second book. Go to Greater Than Jonas is here. Back then, I called it's like we're eavesdropping on what they're saying in heaven. You go to 2 Corinthians, I don't remember which chapter it is, but a man was caught up to the third heaven and heard words that he could not utter, or I'm paraphrasing, okay, but he could not talk about what he heard. Now think about this. How many times have you looked at the Bible, read the Bible, or be listening to the Bible, and you hear words that you don't understand? Remember, you're hearing conversations in heaven. The scriptures are the heavens. I'll do another video on that some other time. We are also a level of heavens. Okay? That's where the covenant of the Ark of God is. It's inside of us. We'll have to do a video on that later at another time and so forth. I show that in the 8th book. But everything about the Bible is spiritual. Now we're going to Habakkuk 1:5. These are some verses that we got to keep in mind every time we think about the Bible. Every time. Habakkuk 1:5. Behold, ye among the heathen. Oh, I need to show you where I'm at. Habakkuk 1:5. Behold, ye among the heathen, and regard, and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days, which ye will not believe, though it be told you. Now, same thing in Acts 13:41. Okay, Acts 13:41. Behold, ye despisers, and wonder, and perish. For I work a work in your days, a work which ye shall in no wise believe, though a man declare it unto you. Everything about the Bible is spiritual. Give you an example. The first day of creation, when God created the light, you can ask anybody else on this planet what that light is, and they're not going to be able to tell you. But I'm going to tell you that was God breathing part of himself into all of us because we were all here on the first day of creation. We are the waters. Without showing it, go to Revelation 17, verse 15. Look at the vision. Listen to what John's being told that he saw in his vision. The waters that he saw was tongues and peoples and tongues and of all nations. Book of Revelation is how a lot of this began, not how it's going to end. Okay? God is working and works that no man will believe. And the only reason I know it is because he's been teaching me hands-on, one-on-one, hardcore, putting me through these real life experiences throughout the entire Bible so that I can understand what the Bible is saying to us. That's in 1 John 5:20. We know the Son of God has come to give us an understanding. All right, we've got now. We're going to Ecclesiastes 1. The thing that have been, it is that which shall be. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Now, the thing that have been, it is that which shall be. A lot of those, well, the second part is pretty much saying the same thing. And that which is done is that which shall be done. And there is no new thing under the sun. Okay, a lot of you all think that Jesus was here. You think of the King James Bible as being a history book. No, it's not a history book. Every one of the books the Father had me say, all until the 7th and 8th book, I always said that the King James Bible is not just a history book. It is a book of, how do I word it? It's a book of instructions of how we are to live our lives. In the 8th book, I literally say that it's no longer the history book. It's definitely not, because there's a chapter in there, it's about 100 pages long, called It's Not a History. The King James Bible is not a history book, because it's not. It's about our lives. That's how when the first time I read the Bible in 2011, knew it was talking about my life personally. It connected with me because it was actually talking about my life. Well, that's because it is about our lives. It's not a history book. The Ark of God that people think they're going to find, or they think they might have found, no, it's within us. The Noah didn't really happen. Now think about this. I want you to just think about this. When that happened, now before I go into that, I want to say this. When we read or listen to the King James Bible, it's not what we can learn about it. It's about what we can learn from what we are reading or listening to. Not what we can learn about it. Noah's Ark didn't happen. Now, just physically didn't happen. Now, think about this. All right. You have animals, giraffes. You have lions. You have elephants. Rhinoceros. I'm just trying to think of some animals that live in the southern hemisphere. You have polar bears, grizzly bears. They don't live where it's hot. But you got climates that are hot all year round. I don't know about grizzly bears. They might. Polar bears don't, unless they're in zoo. They stay up there where it's cold, always cold. There are parts of this world, but all the animals were supposed to go on Noah's Ark. And you see, and I'm not going to show it, but you got to realize Genesis 7, God says 7 of all clean animals shall be on the ark, and 2 of every unclean animal should be on the ark. But people don't pay attention to that. You know, I talk about it in the video called Clean or Unclean. Okay? It's what we can learn from it. I had a friend ask me, why would God do that? You know, in one chapter he tells Noah to take 2 of every animal, but in one other chapter he tells God tells Noah to take 7 of the clean animals and 2 of the unclean animals. And then this friend asked me, why would God do it that way? So we would realize the importance of eating clean versus unclean. That is a very important factor. And we're going to be talking about that toward the end of the video. Okay. But it's going to be on a totally different, as we're going into the lesson about Israel not being the Holy Land, we're going to be leading into the kings of us that have dominion over our bodies, and which is going to lead us into eating the clean and unclean. You'll see when we get there if you still want to stay on my channel. All right. Now, Ecclesiastes 3, verse 15. All right. That which have been is now, and that which is to be have already been, and God requireth that which is past. That which have been is now. All that stuff, a lot of that stuff in the Old Testament, where a lot of people are going to get killed in wars, that's now. That's all these wars and rumors of wars. Never in history have we had a time where we've had so many wars going on, going on at the same time with the threat of nuclear war at the fingertips of many of these countries that are at war. We've never had this before in history. Okay? And that which is to be have already been done. Now, I just stated a minute ago, the book of Revelation is how a lot of this began, not how it's going to end. When you read the King James Bible, it's not like you start at the first page. That's the beginning, and that's the beginning of the story, and the story ends on the last page of Revelation 22. Remember, God has hid this from the wise and the prudent, so they couldn't understand. Most people think that's the way it starts on page 1, it must end on page 2000. I'm paraphrasing, I don't know, it's a little over 2,000 pages, but okay, but what I'm trying to say is, actually, a lot of this began with the book of Revelation. That is how God set everything up when he was making the earth. If you don't understand that, unless you seek him with all of your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And that which is to be have already been done. Many think the book of Revelation is how it's going to end. No, that's how it's going to end. That which have been is now. Many of y'all think I was here 2,000 years ago, died, so y'all can do whatever you want. I paid for all your sins. No, that is now. I wrote all these books. I've been in hardcore school with the Father, real life experiences, going through all these lessons in the book so I could bring these books to you all. You think I was here 2,000 years ago? I'm here now. I am the author of our salvation. These books I just showed you on our website, they're yours, free of charge. I don't want the money. The love of money is the root of all evil. Okay? Now, Israel was not an independent country. Now we're starting to get into the meat of the lesson. Okay, Israel was not an independent country. Before 1948, sorry about moving the cursor there. Israel was not an independent country. The region was known as Palestine, and it was primarily inhabited by Palestinians. The area has a long history with the Jewish people, tracing their origins back to ancient Israel. There is no ancient Israel. We're getting ready to explain all this, okay? Let me do this real quick. Where did Israel, don't worry about me capitalizing it, exist before 1948? Before 19, Israel existed as a scattered people throughout Europe. See, Israel is a people. It's not the nation that has like 12 million people over there. There was no country called Israel. The King James Bible was published in 1611. Israel did not become a country till 1948. But many people think that little bitty country over there in the Middle East is God's holy land. No. What you're getting ready to learn is the whole entire earth is God's holy land. This is God's earth. Well, Satan's world, Satan's kingdom. You're living in Satan's world, Satan's kingdom. This is shown in the 8th book. Okay, but God breathed life into you just as well as he did me, just as well as he did everybody else on this planet, everyone that's ever been on this planet. On the first day of creation, he breathed life into all of us. That's the light that he created on the first day of creation. Everybody. God the Father. Colossians 3:11, Jesus is in all and is all. That's what makes all of us part of the one Son of God. So in other words, God the Father walks on the entire earth through every living being on the planet. So that makes the entire earth the Holy Land. Now, let's go ahead and show where it shows this in the scriptures. Okay? We're going to go to Genesis 25, verse 23. And the Lord, just talking to Rebecca, Isaac's wife, okay? Let me go ahead and read verse 20 through 23. And Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian, and the Padanaram, the sister of Laban, the Syrian. I chopped the words up, okay? I got a 9th grade education, explained in the videos, explained in the books. All right, I'm not the smartest guy on the block, that's for sure, when it comes to this stuff. Just because I know the Bible doesn't mean I know how to pronounce every word. That's a good way to put it. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived, and the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. Okay, this is Jacob and Israel. Well, I guess I should read a little more. And when her days were to be were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb, and the first came out red all over like a hairy man, or a hairy garment, and they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. Okay, Jacob was born second, so Jacob is the younger. Now, we're going to go to where Jacob, and I'm skipping a lot of the details, but we're going to where Jacob's name was changed to Israel. Remember, it was 2 nations in her womb. 2 baby boys. 2 baby boys. Baby boy became a nation, or is a nation, while he was yet in Rebekah's womb. God said, 2 nations are in thy womb. Okay, Genesis 32, verses 24 through 28. And Jacob was left alone. This is when Jacob's older now. We're skipping a lot. Okay, and Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the breaking of the day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint, as he wrestled with him. And he said, Let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. And he said unto him, What is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And he said, Thy name shall be no more called Jacob, but Israel. For as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. Jacob, the younger of the two nations in Rebekah's womb, is now a nation called Israel. It's not a physical land. It's spiritual. Remember, everything about the King James Bible is spiritual. Now I think we're skipping all the way to when Jacob or Israel dies. We're going to Genesis 49, the last verse, and verse 33. And when Jacob had made an end of commanding his sons, he gathered up his feet into the bed and yielded up the ghost. That's dying. And was gathered unto his people. Okay, now Israel dies. Jacob dies. Now we're going to go over to Deuteronomy, or Exodus 4, excuse me. Now we're looking at the children of Israel. Exodus 4:31. And the people believed, and when they heard that the Lord had visited the children of Israel, and that he looked upon their affliction, then they bowed their heads and worshiped. Now we're looking at the children. Remember, Jacob, Israel, is a nation. This baby boy that was in Rebekah's womb is a nation. That nation is the descendants of Israel or Jacob. Isaiah 44, verse 21. Remember thee, O Jacob and Israel, for thou art my servant. I have formed thee, thou art my servant. O Israel, thou shalt not be forgotten of me. Remember, we're talking about the children of Israel. They are called Israel. Now, Israel, the nation that died in Genesis 49, all the people of him, I want to say his children, but they're not directly his children. Because remember, this is the spiritual workings. God breathed life into you just as well as he did me, so that makes you a holy person of him too. Okay? Everybody on the planet, we don't know who's wrong or right by God. That's not for us to judge. That's not for us to discern. Only he can judge that. Okay? Israel is a people. It's not a nation, a physical nation. Now, that verse might be out of place. Okay? But now, here's where I wanted to show Israel is scattered upon the hills. We're looking at 1 Kings 22, verse 17. And this is where Micah is talking to, they're asking, this is about the one guy says that he knows one man of God, but he doesn't like him because he hates what he says. And Micah says this, and he said, I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills, as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. I saw all Israel scattered upon the hills, as sheep that have not a shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return every man to his house in peace. This is a people. This is not a physical nation. These hills. Revelation 13. Remember, I'm telling you, Revelation is how a lot of this began, not how it's going to end. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. The 7 heads. Now, remember, Philippians 3:20, our conversation is in heaven. Think of yourself being above the planet. You're looking down at a planet that's about 60 to 70% covered with water. You see 7 continents rising out. There's your 7 hills. There's the 7 mountains. That's the 7 heads of the beast. Yes, we are the beast. We can do another video on that later on, but we are the beast. Okay, the dragon's tail drew about a third of the stars with him. We came from the stars. That's the first day of creation. We got cast here to hell. Yes, earth is hell. It's not someplace you go after this life. Okay, you're in hell now. It's a spiritual fire. Anything, well, in fact, you know what? I'll go ahead and say this. Many people that have already shut off this video because they don't like what I'm saying, here's why you don't. Because the flames got turned up too high and it burnt too bad. And if you're still here, you're enduring those flames. And those flames will mild down the longer you endure through the video. But if the people that have already shut it off, they couldn't handle the heat of the flames. Anything that makes you feel other than perfect is some sort of flame. The further away you feel from being perfect, the hotter and higher the flame is. The harder it is to get through. We're in hell now. Okay, but the 7 heads are the 7 continents. That's the hills Micah sees all Israel scattered upon that had no master. And we're going to be talking about the kings that have rule over us, that have dominion over our bodies. Does the King James Bible refer to Israel as being a land? Now, I've already told you, I showed you how Israel was a nation in the womb of Rebekah, or Jacob, which was changed. His name was changed to Israel. Okay? So Israel was one baby boy, born second of 2 twins from the mother. A baby boy was a nation, is a nation. Okay, now we're going to look at some things. This is where I got the chuckles early, and I'm probably going to get them again. All right. Now, to show you that this is not a physical land, we're going to talk about, just a search here. I just did a quick search in Bible Gateway, always using the King James Version of the Bible, Israel, milk and honey. What I'm looking for is verses that have those 4 words in them. Okay? And we've got 3 of them right here. And I'm just going to read a couple of them. Deuteronomy 6:3. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe. Now remember, this is Deuteronomy. Remember, Israel or Jacob died in Genesis 49. We're in Deuteronomy, the 5th book of Moses, as people call it. Okay? But we're in Deuteronomy, book 6, verse 3. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers have promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Deuteronomy 26:15. Look down from the holy habitation, from heaven, and bless thy people Israel, and the land which thou hast given us, as thou swearest unto our fathers, a land that floweth with milk and honey. Joshua 5:6. And the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness till all the day that were men of war, which came out of Egypt, were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that he would not show them the land, which the Lord sware unto their fathers, that he would give us a land that floweth with milk and honey. Okay. And I show this in the books. Our imagination is Satan, the serpent, the devil. All right. That's everybody. Man is the son of perdition. Okay. But now, I just want you to think of land that's actually flowing with actual milk in a physical sense. That milk's not going to stay good but maybe a few days. A land that's flowing with honey. How are you going to get around it? I mean, that's going to be a sticky mess. Milk and honey are knowledge or instructions from our Father. Okay? Water, milk, honey, meat, and there's a few other things. These are all levels of not wine. Wine is a level of knowledge. You know, Acts 2, I think it talks about where the men's all acting drunk. They were drunk with the Holy Ghost, the new wine of the Holy Ghost, the Holy. I'm going to do a video. We're going to do some videos, and one of the videos is going to be about us being the vessels or the bottles of God, the belly. We put the wine in us, we burst, and all this. I could do a video on that. I want to do, uh, you know, I don't know. I want you all to tell me what I've got an array of different things I could do a videos on, but I want to know. I want you all to, if you're still here, I watching this video. I'd like your input of what you would like me to teach next. You want me to teach how we are the vessels or the bottles of God that we put wine into, the new wine into? Do you want me to do uh, a video on who actually wrote the King James Bible? I can show you biblically that it was the Father that actually wrote the King James Bible. I can show you why the Bibles published before the King James Bible were not made the relevant Bible, and I can tell you why certain books are not in the Bible that many people refer to as the lost books of the Bible or the Dead Sea Scrolls and things like that. I can actually explain to you why those are not in the Bible. Okay. So, or would you like me to do a video on why it's wrong to celebrate birthdays and holidays? Give me your input. Like, what would you all like me to do a video on next? If you all don't give me a choice, if you all don't give me no input on it, I'm just going to pick it, and there's going to be another 2 or 3 hour video done here in a week or two. Anyway, back at this. Now, the land flowing with milk and honey. I've been living in this land for years. I even talk about this in the books. I think it was in the second book I started telling everybody I'm living in the land of milk and honey. Milk and honey is knowledge, instructions, listening, hearkening to our Father's voice. When we listen to Him, things get easier with life. It's when we get ourselves in a uproar when things get hard. But if we're always being still, being calm, things get better. All right. Let's see, what do I got next here? Okay, Nehemiah 9:37. What we're going to be talking about now, what we're doing now is we're going to start talking about the kings. Excuse me, I got to get a drink. That have dominion over our bodies. Now, I know a lot of you all don't believe that they have dominion over our bodies, but yes, they do. And this dominion is very strong. You don't realize it's dominion, okay? But this dominion talks to your conscience and gets you to do things. Now, I'm going to give you a prime example of dominion that they have where I can show you that they had a very strong dominion over me. And it started when I was 16 years old. Okay? I'm going to back all the way up to March 28th, Good Friday, 1986. I talked about this in the books. I talk about this in previous videos. All right. But this is when I had what man calls a so-called car accident. There is no such thing as a car accident. Okay. It comes from the dominion they have above. Yes. I had this so-called car accident. I was in a coma. Started my coma. Good Friday. Late morning, early afternoon, Friday, March 28th, I was in a coma till Monday morning. Now, you go to Matthew 12:38 through 41, it actually says, This wicked and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, but the only sign they'll be given will be the sign of Jonas. For Jonas was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. So shall the Son of Man be in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. I was in a coma next to being dead for 3 days and 3 nights. Count it from Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night. I was in a coma for 3 days, 3 nights, next to being dead. Now, March 8th, 2016, 30 years later, 20 days shy of 30 years later, as it says in Luke 3, Jesus was about 30 years old when he was baptized. March 8th, 2016, I walked out into the wilderness to lay down my life. I thought I was physically supposed to die. That's some pretty strong dominion. They caused me to have this car accident when I was 16. They caused me to do everything I did up until March 8th, 2016, where I walked out into the wilderness. They caused me to walk out into the wilderness to lay down my life. The Father's the one that did this. He's the one with the ultimate dominion. Okay? But that's some pretty strong dominion. And the way I explain it in the 8th book, do you think I actually intentionally had this car accident March 28th, Good Friday, 1986? I intentionally did this, and I said, oh, I'm going to be in a coma for 3 days and 3 nights, and then almost 30 years later, I'm going to walk out into the wilderness? No. They talk to your conscience and get you to do stupid stuff, if that's what you call it. Because in a fleshly perspective, when I drove that pickup truck down into the ditch back in 1986, now I'm going off memory. I don't remember a week before. I remember about a week before the accident and about 7 or 8 weeks after the accident. There's like an 8 or 9 week block in my life I have no recollection of. Like I said, I was in the belly of the earth, spiritually in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. When I come out of the coma, and my sisters or my brothers, you can talk to them about it. My mom and dad have passed. They're reincarnated as my granddaughters now, okay? But they said I had to grow back up. I had to grow. When I come out of the coma, I was reliving things like when I was 4 years old. And I had to grow back up. Okay? I was literally, spiritually, in the belly of the earth for 3 days and 3 nights. Then almost 30 years later, to the day, 20 days shy of it, is when I walked out into the wilderness to lay down my life. This is me being baptized with the Holy Ghost. This is a different baptism of water. And later on in the book of Luke, I think it's Luke 12, I think it says, Jesus says, I have a baptism to undergo. That's the baptism right there. The King James Bible is not a history book. It's not a book that we're supposed to learn about what we're supposed to learn from it when we read or listen to it. Okay? But anyway, that dominion they have over us, it's strong. You don't realize it, but yeah, you might be driving down the road, and if they want you to get in a car accident, they might get you to jerk your arm, cause you to swerve, put your car in the ditch. It's that strong. You just don't realize it because you don't understand. You don't listen to every word that proceedeth out of the mouth of God. Now that's what the books are about. They're for the world to help you all understand what's going on. All right, what do we have next? Oh, this is where I wanted to show you, okay? If you're still wanting to say, and I should have done this before Israel, or before I talked about the kings having dominion over us, because I'm actually backing up to where we're talking about Israel not being the Holy Land, as many people refer to, and that's something I wanted to bring up. You know, when God's talking about the land of milk and honey, if you think Israel's the land, yeah, I'm getting the giggles about this again. If you think Israel's the holy land that flows with milk and honey, I've been there twice, and I'm sure many of you that are watching this have probably maybe been there. I don't know if you have or not. Okay, but it's not flowing with milk and honey. It's not flowing with milk and honey at all. All right. There is no land that actually physically flows with milk, physical milk, and physical honey. Jeremiah 46, verse 8. Egypt riseth up like a flood, and his waters are moved like the rivers. And he saith, I will go up, and I will cover the earth, and will cover the earth. I will destroy the city and the inhabitants of thereof. This flood I seen, started talking about this in the 4th book. I seen this on November 4th, 2019, when the Father sent me to Hawaii. I explained this in the 4th book. There's a chapter on this called Just as the Days of Noah. Okay. I seen this flood from 32,000 feet. I kind of freaked out. It looked so real to me. I thought there was a tidal wave right underneath the plate. I explained it in the book. If you want, as I showed, you can download the manuscript. You can listen to it. It's in the 4th book. All right. But I seen this flood from 32,000 feet. That means the entire earth is Egypt. Now, this is where I suggest you learn about all those people that chose not to hearken to Moses because God wasn't giving them the instructions to lead them into the land of milk and honey. Yes, God was. He was giving them the instruction. That is the land that flows with milk and honey. His instructions, hearkening to his voice. That is the land of milk and honey. This is not a physical land. Egypt riseth up like a flood. I've seen this flood. It's a spiritual flood. It covers the entire earth. It's not physical. We have a country in Egypt, but that's not what this is referring to. Everything about the Bible is spiritual. Egypt riseth up like a flood, covers the earth. That means the whole world is in Egypt. Now you know why it's so important to listen and hearken to the words of Moses when Moses is actually talking, because Moses is trying to lead us out of Egypt. I've been led out of Egypt. That's how I was able to see it from 32,000 feet. I was able to look down upon the waters. It's a deep flood, by the way, because I'm guessing it's around 30, 32,000, 31,000 feet deep. Nobody's getting out of it unless we do what the Father wants us to do. I got out. I'm out of the flood. You can go through the Old Testament where God says, I brought you out of Egypt. See, when we start hearing what he's saying and we start coming out, we can't turn around and go back. Oh, that's going to be worse on you. Okay? But I've seen this flood. It's a spiritual flood. It covers the earth. Now, nobody's drowning. I explain all this in the books. You know, we are the waters. We are the waters. This flood covers the earth. We are all counted as fish in the Bible. It is, everything is spiritual. And we've already went on an hour, so we need to get moving with this. Now, we're going to talk about the kings of Israel. Now that we're learning that Israel is not a physical land, Israel is a people, we need to understand that the kings of the Old Testament are the ones that have dominion over. Remember, we showed this in Nehemiah 9:37. Okay? They have dominion over our bodies. Saul was the first king. I talk about Saul being my first king in the 7th book. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Okay? Saul had dominion over me, and the reason I think Saul had dominion over me is because Saul visited after God stopped talking to Saul, after God was displeased with Saul because Saul didn't do what God commanded him to do. I don't think we're showing that, because I think that's 1 Samuel 9. I don't think we're going to go over 1 Samuel 9. We are going to be listening to 1 Samuel 8, but God said Saul couldn't took the reign away from Saul because he didn't do all that God commanded him to do. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. But Saul was the first king, had dominion over me. I say this because when God stopped talking to Saul, and after Samuel had died, Saul went and seen someone with a familiar spirit, a psychic. You know, these are people with familiar spirits. Not all of them. A lot of them are fakes, but there are some that are probably real. Okay, but you're just trying to see someone with a familiar spirit. We're supposed to seek all of our instructions from our Father, our perfect Father, because He's the only one that can give us our perfect instructions. We can't get instructions for life from anybody else as perfectly as we can from the Father. Father's the only one that's perfect. All right? But this is when the people I should probably do Samuel 8 first, but we're going to do this now. This is Samuel 11, verse 15. And all the people went to Gilgal, and there they made Saul king before the Lord at Gilgal, and they were there they sacrificed sacrifices. They sacrificed sacrifices of peace offerings before the Lord, and there Saul and all the men of Israel rejoiced greatly. Now we're going to 1 Samuel 8, I believe. Yeah, and what we're going to do is we're just going to listen to this whole chapter.
made his sons judges
back that up
over
a bit.
Israel. 1 Samuel 8. And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. Now the name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second Abiah. They were judges in Beersheba. And his sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes, and perverted judgment. And all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like all the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel, when they said, Give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Samuel, Hearken unto the voice of the people in all that they say unto thee. For they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. According to all the works which they have done since the day that I brought them up out of Egypt, even unto this day, wherewith they have forsaken me, and served other gods, so do they also unto thee. Now therefore hearken unto their voice, howbeit yet protest solemnly unto them, and show them the manner of the king that shall reign over them. And Samuel told all the words of the Lord unto the people that asked of him a king. And he said, This will be the manner of the king that shall reign over you. He will take your sons, and appoint them for himself, for his chariots, and to be his horsemen, and some shall run before his chariots. And he will appoint him captains over thousands, and captains over fifties, and will set them to ear his ground, and to reap his harvest, and to make his instruments of war, and instruments of his chariots. And he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields and your vineyards and your oliveyards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. And he will take the tenth of your seed and of your vineyards, and give to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men-servants and your maidservants and your goodliest young men and your asses, and put them to his work. He will take the tenth of your sheep, and ye shall be his servants. And ye shall cry out in that day because of your king which ye shall have chosen you. And the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, Nay, but we will have a king over us, that we also may be like all the nations, and that our king may judge us, and go out before us, and fight our battles. And Samuel heard all the words of the people, and he rehearsed them in the ears of the Lord. And the Lord said to Samuel, Hearken unto their voice, and make them a king. And Samuel said unto the men of Israel, Go ye every man unto his city.
All right, let's talk about that for a minute. How many of you all have read or even listened to some of the things of the Old Testament, like when God said, listed the unclean things in Leviticus 11, and said, that's not for me? Now, did you hear that? And the reason I wanted to play the whole chapter, remember how God told Samuel, they have not rejected thee, but they have rejected me. When you look at what those things are, or you listen to someone else tell you that the things in unclean things in Leviticus 11 doesn't apply for us, that's what your choice. You're choosing not to have God the Father reign over you. By your choice, he's giving you to have one of these other kings. They're all listed in 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. These kings have dominion over our bodies. They have dominion over us. If we don't want to hearken to what God the Father says, we are making the choice to not have God the Father reign over us. Now, let me remind you, these kings were only going to go as far as the Father will allow them to go because he's the ultimate king of all kings. Okay? But if you don't want to have God reign over you, the Father reign over you, your choice, not his. As you just heard in 1 Samuel 8, the people did not reject Samuel, they rejected the Father. Because they didn't want the Father to reign over. They want to be like the rest of the nations. Think about how everybody else that does not want to listen to what God the Father says. Do you want God the Father to reign over you? Or do you want, let me remind you, God the Father is the only perfect, righteous, and justified one. And if he's reigning over you, then everything will be perfect for you in the latter end. Not in the beginning. It's going to be a rough start, but you got to let him know you want him reigning over you. If you want him to reign over you, you got to start learning of him, what he said. This is where I probably need to do a video on who actually wrote the King James Bible, because I actually show you it was the Father that wrote the King James Version of the Bible. Not all the Bibles that came after it, but it was the Father that actually wrote the King James Bible. I need to do a video and show you all how all that works. But yes, it was the Father that actually wrote the King James Bible. And if you ain't going to listen to what the words of Moses is saying, you're not allowing Moses to lead you out of Egypt, because you're in Egypt right now. Whether you like it or not, you are spiritually in Egypt, and you have to be led out of Egypt. That's your choice. Who do you want reigning over you? See, the first 40 years of my life, I wouldn't talk to anybody about the Bible because I didn't understand anything about it. But then when that night, when I was listening to Coast AM in May of 2011, they were talking about coming to Ellen and coming in. They were talking about, some people were talking they was going to be raptured. And I'm like, before then, I'd never even heard of the word. So right after that, I was on a Fargo lay-down run. I remember what I was doing. And, then I'd drive overnight to Fargo, North Dakota. Then I'd sleep during the day, drive back the next night. When I got back, the very next day when I got back, the next 2 days later when I got back, I went and got me a Bible. And I got online and I started looking at all these spots that people said that they were going to be raptured. And I'm like, that doesn't say you're going to be raptured. That's where the Bibles actually say I can hear and see things that prophets and teachers have wanted to see for years but couldn't. Yes, I've been able to see and hear things right off the bat. I don't know why. It's just that way. But I can understand things in the Bible that you can be looking at the exact same thing, and I can see I can see and hear and understand what it's saying, even though it may be gibberish to you. I understand it. I've had this. I don't know. It's just something. It's got to be the Father inside of me. That's what it's got to be. I don't know why he chose me. I talk about this in previous videos. God will choose whom he'll choose. He'll have mercy on whom he'll have mercy. It wasn't my choice. It was not me that decided to have that car accident when I was 16. It was not me that said 30 years later, almost to the day, that was going to walk out into the wilderness. It was him that had the dominion, because he's marking the days. He already has that day in sight. I don't know what day it is. You don't know what day it is. Nobody knows what day it is. But we do know, with all the wars and rumors of wars, the earthquakes in diverse places, the over 45 documented cases of false Christ, the pestilences and everything that's been here. Everything that's what I call the ingredients in Matthew 24 is here in this day, right now. We're living those times. All right? So let's go on. What I have next. We're going to start talking about whether you want the Father to reign over you, or do you want one of these other kings. You have to go through and listen to all these kings and how they were disobedient. They did things that displeased God and all this. You have to let. And if you're finding the king that's not hearing the laws of Moses, there's only a few of them, but nobody did as well as Moses. Well, it's actually his father that actually wrote books of Moses. Okay, but you got In order to be able to get Moses to lead you out of Egypt, you got to hearken to the words of Moses. If you choose not to, now, here's why I wanted to read this. Instead of me rambling on saying things I've already said, Leviticus 20, 24 through 26. But I have said unto you, ye shall inherit their land, and I will give it unto you to possess it, a land that floweth with milk and honey. I am the Lord your God, which have separated you from other people. Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beast and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable by beast, or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creepeth upon the ground, which I have separated you from you as unclean. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I am the Lord, for I the Lord am holy, and have severed you from other people that ye should be mine. If you want God the Father, instead of one of these other kings to have reign over you, you must, he's telling you right here, you must put a difference between clean and unclean. If you want him to sever you from the majority of people that does not adhere to what he says, so that you can be his, as it says right there in verse 26, and ye shall be holy unto me, for I am the Lord, for I the Lord am holy, and have severed you from other people, that ye should be mine. If you want to be his, him, the one having ultimate dominion over you, then you have to put difference between the clean and unclean. You can't be as the majority of people that says, it doesn't matter what I eat. Because yes, it does. The unclean in my mind, and this because I've been doing this for so long with the Father. I mean, that was the first thing I gave up 2011. Okay. But the unclean in my mind now is poison. It's poison. It may not kill me physically, but it will kill me spiritually. I will lose my life with the Father. My life that he's promised of eternal perfection to me. If I choose to eat unclean and I choose to do as rest of everybody else does, I choose the ways of hell. I choose the ways of Satan. I choose the serpent's ways instead of my Father's ways. I will adhere to my Father because I don't want to give up my eternal life of perfection with him. He has severed me from everyone else, and I'm glad he has. If you want to come in that straight and narrow path with me, read the books. These books give you an understanding of who he is, what he's doing, and why he's doing what he's doing. Now, I think we're going to Deuteronomy 4, verse 29. Remember, I said the King James Bible is not a history book. It's a book of lessons for us. Deuteronomy 4, right? I got so many things in my mind about the Bible. It's just Deuteronomy 4, verse 29. But if from thence thou shalt seek the Lord thy God, thou shalt find him. If thou seek him with all of thy heart and with all of thy soul. When thou art in tribulation, and all these things come upon thee, even in the latter days, if thou turn to the Lord thy God, and shall be obedient to his voice. For the Lord thy God is a merciful God. He will not forsake thee, neither destroy thee, nor forget the covenant of thy fathers, which he sware unto them. Even in the latter days. This book was published in 1611, the King James Bible. And he's talking about the latter days right here. It's not what we can learn about it. It's about what we can learn from it. Yes, I was the first one to do this. I'm the first one to get all this understanding of our Father, who he is, what he's doing, and why he's doing what he's doing. But that's what these 8 books that we've written are all about. Is to give you all an understanding of who he is, what he's doing, and why he's doing what he's doing. By reading the books that he's had me write at no cost to you, I've already explained this at no cost to you except your time and your effort, maybe a little data if you want to listen to the books. I don't know what your internet situation is. For me, it's going to cost me data. Because I do all mine with mobile data, one way or another. All right, but if you start hearkening to his voice, he'll have mercy. He's not going to say, well, you screwed up the last 10 years of your life. No, forget it. I'll never. No. If he was going to do that, he would have never breathed life into us in the first place. When he breathed life into us, Genesis 2:7, God breathed life into man so that man became a living soul. In the very beginning of the Bible, he breathed life into us. That's the light that he created. That was him saying, I'm giving you a chance to hearken to my voice so you can get back into my perfect house. But if you're not going to hearken to my voice, you're not getting back into my perfect house. That's why we got kicked out in the first place. I explain this in the 8th book, 7th and 8th book. Okay? God's house is perfect. And if you ain't willing, remember, the law's a shadow of things to come. If you're not willing to adhere to what he's saying now, you definitely will not be willing to listen to what he's saying in the next world. So why in the world would he allow you into his perfect house in the next world? He's not going to, because he already knows. If you're not going to listen to him now, you're not going to listen to him then. But if you try with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, with all of your strength, try to hearken to what he's saying, trying to learn from what he's saying, because he's the only perfect, righteous, and justified one. If we try to learn from what he's saying, he's going to allow it. If we truly seek him and his instructions, then we're getting into his house. Because we're going to listen to him. Because we understand that he's perfect, he's righteous, he's justified in everything that he's done, doing, and will do, everything that he's said, saying, and will say. There is no unrighteousness with God. Everything's perfect. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. We're almost done. I think this is Deuteronomy 14. And what I was going to listen, we're going to listen to this one again. This is the last one we're doing. We're going to listen to Deuteronomy 14, and it's going to talk about what we need to do, because he just listen to what it says.
Deuteronomy 14. Ye are the children of the Lord your God. Ye shall not cut yourselves, nor make any baldness between your eyes for the dead. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. These are the beasts which ye shall eat, the ox, the sheep, and the goat, the hart, and the roebuck, and the fallow deer, and the wild goat, and the pygarg, and the wild ox, and the chamois, and every beast that parteth the hoof, and cleaveth the cleft into 2 claws, and cheweth the cud among the beasts, that ye shall eat. Nevertheless these ye shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the cloven hoof, as the camel, and the hare, and the coney. For they chew the cud, but divide not the hoof, therefore they are unclean unto you. And the swine, because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean unto you. Ye shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass. These ye shall eat of all that are in the waters, all that have fins and scales shall ye eat. And whatsoever hath not fins and scales ye may not eat, it is unclean unto you. Of all clean birds ye shall eat. But these are they of which ye shall not eat, the eagle, and the ossifrage, and the osprey, and the glede, and the kite, and the vulture after his kind, and every raven after his kind, and the owl, and the night hawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, the little owl, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gyre eagle, and the cormorant, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat, and every creeping thing that flieth is unclean unto you, they shall not be eaten. But of all clean fowls ye may eat. Ye shall not eat of anything that dieth of itself, thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it. Or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, for thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. Thou shalt not see the kid in his mother's milk. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field bringeth forth year by year. And thou shalt eat before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose to place his name there, the tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, and of thine oil, and the firstlings of thy herds and of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear the Lord thy God always. And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able to carry it, or if the place be too far from thee, which the Lord thy God shall choose to set his name there, when the Lord thy God hath blessed thee, then shalt thou turn it into money, and bind up the money in thine hand, and shalt go into the place which the Lord thy God shall choose. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desireth, and thou shalt eat there before the Lord thy God, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thine household. And the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. At the end of 3 years thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and shalt lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come, and shall eat and be satisfied, that the Lord thy God may bless thee in all the work of thine hand which thou doest.
Right. Now, the reason I wanted to list that because it gives you more of a defined things of what we're to eat and not eat. Now, and I really want to harp on that. Yeah, there's a video on here called Clean and Unclean. But if you want God the Father to reign over you instead of one of these other kings that do so many things that are that displeases the Father, okay, you have to hearken to his voice. Yes, these kings of Israel, it's not the king over there, the whatever his name is. I'm getting kind of tired. But anyway, it's not that little country of Israel over there. These kings have dominion over everybody on the planet. They talk to your conscience. They cause you to do things. They might, and I explain this in the second book. I think it's in the second book. The movie with Julia Roberts in it, Erin Brockovich, I think it's called. It's based on a true story about this lady that went to war with all these lawyers about. She worked for a law firm, went to war with legal battle with a company that was putting certain things in the ground that caused cancer in a lot of people, cancer and other things, illnesses, and it was the made record winning lawsuit or whatever. But I asked the Father when I watched that, why would that happen? And it's okay, well, if these people hated people that had cancer in their last life, let's say someone lived in Georgia, and I think that movie took place in California, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I watched it. Okay, but if someone lived in Georgia and they heard of this job out here in California, God would tell their conscience, or one of these kings would tell their conscience to move out there. So they get a job working at this place or work close to this place where what they would wind up getting this cancer because they despise someone in their last life that had cancer. So God will make them have cancer so that their soul can learn what it feels like just to be judged, hated, condemned, or not appreciated for just being the person you are. Everything's a lesson. Everything's a lesson for our souls, not the flesh. Okay? But that's the dominion. It just telling your conscience. It's not a dominion like they got strings. It's not like one of those. They're not called puppets, but they're called something else where they got these. people figures on strings. I can't remember what they're called. I just seen a show that had no, seen it a week or two ago, had them in it. I can't remember what they're called. But it's not like they got strings or anything attached to our hands, and they don't cause us to say the words that we say most of the time. Sometimes they do. Sometimes the Father will cause me to say things, and that just happened last night. A couple big things come through my mouth, and that he was telling me that we're not going into that. But this dominion is not a dominion to say that they're beating you with whips and chains to get you to do what they want you to do. This dominion works in a way that they talk to your conscience, and your conscience is just, they'll tell your conscience to do something. Here, I'll give you another example. I talk about this in the books too. Let's say, I don't know if you are or not, but I am. I am a person that has enrolled in college twice and enrolled in a technical school. I'm a high school dropout, got a ninth grade education. I got my GED from the ninth grade education. I only completed part of my 10th grade year. So I did not finish the 10th grade. So I'd say I got a ninth grade education. But I did enroll in college twice. I did enroll into a technical college, technical schooling. So I've been in college, tried college 3 times. I've been driving. I turned 21. I started driving. I've been driving ever since. Tried to get out of a truck. Enrolled in college. Enrolled in technical school. All they did was wound up costing me thousands of dollars. Never completed any of them. Wound right back up in a truck. So if you're one of these people that's went to college and maybe got a degree in something, but you find yourself working at Walmart, and I'm not criticizing you for working at Walmart or McDonald's or anywhere else, you're not doing what you went to college for, is the point I'm trying to make. Because that's not where the Father wanted you. He's got you where you're at because that's where you're supposed to be. Not because where your flesh wants to be, but that's where you're needed to be. Everybody is a servant and or vessel of God. Okay, you really have to read the books to understand this, but you wouldn't own anything if it wasn't for everybody on the planet right now doing what they've done, and everybody that came before us doing what they did, so you could have what you have right now. It takes everybody. It's teamwork. Everybody is part of the team. There's 2 teams. There's God's team, the Father's, or Satan's team. That's the last chapter in the 8th book. The conclusion is, it is teamwork. You decide which team you want to be on. Anyway, I need to do a video on that too. I need to do a video on all the chapters in the 8th book. But all right, this video is about showing you all that Israel is not a physical land. Israel is a people. Israel is spread out throughout the entire world on all the hills. Israel has to choose which king they want having dominion over them. I choose, and will always to choose to have the Father reigning over me. That choice is yours too. Do you want God, the perfect, righteous, justified Father, reigning over you? Or do you want one of those other kings talked about in 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles? Do you want one of those other kings having dominion over you? The first thing you're going to have to understand is you must give up the unclean things if you want God the Father to have reign over you. You have to show him that. He already showed his love for you when he breathed life into you. He already showed his love. If you want him to reign over you, if you want him to have the ultimate dominion over you, then the first thing you're going to have to give up is the unclean. No ifs, ands, or buts. All right, but I think we've made this, I think, and I hope you all can understand that Israel is not a physical land. Israel is a people spread out throughout the world. Once again, I want to suggest visiting my website, davidofpsalm89.com. As you can see me coming in the clouds. Here I am. All right. All the books, all 8 books are listed underneath the books. You can click on any one of them. You can buy the books if you choose. If you want the physical copy in your hand, you can do that. Or you can download the manuscript for free. You can listen to it once the manuscript's downloaded. If it's on your phone, you'll most likely have to convert it to Word before you can listen to it, but you can listen to the books for free. DavidofPsalm89.com. We give you all an understanding of our Father, who He is, what He's doing, and why He's doing what He's doing. It's your choice on which God, which king you want to reign over you. We're not forced to do anything. But God did show His love for you first when He breathed life into you. You're alive because He chose to bring you into this world. He's the one that said, I'll give you another chance to learn of me and my ways and let you come back into my house as long as you will hearken to my voice. Anyway, I think we've made this long enough. Looking at an hour and 35. Yeah, we've made this long enough. Once again, I want to point this out. All right? Comment. We're in class. I'm going to try to do this as an actual class. If you've decided to stay with this video, if you decided to stay on this straight and narrow path that leads to eternal life, comment, like this video, ask me questions, subscribe, share this video. Never know who else might want to get on this straight and narrow path. But this is the straight and narrow path. These books, I am the author of our salvation. These videos will give you a little, well, I'm always going to be reading you to the books. But comment, like, ask me questions. As I said at the beginning of the video, when you ask me questions, there's a good chance. If I see a repeated question, if you ask me a foolish question, I'm not going to pay it any regard. But if you're asking me a serious and legitimate question, I need to know. Go to the website. Send me a message through the website, somehow or another. But I'm not gonna reply to a bunch of ridiculous. Do not, under any circumstances, wish me anything for holidays, because no, that's junk. That's garbage. I'll ban you from my channel. I will not tolerate it on this channel. This is for the true followers of the Father. Period. Let me know what y'all think.